and a very good afternoon to all of you present here today. I'm really excited to talk to you about our next session as it is so relevant considering the times that we are living in. The name of our session is Transforming Activism Through Digital Advocacy. The speaker for our session is the super talented Palak Mehta. Palak is the founder of Vegan First, which is India's leading plant based media publication and events company, and Vegan India Conference, which is their flagship event that is held annually, attracting participants from over 22 countries. Palak is also the vice chair of World Vegan Organization for the India chapter and has been an integral part of the task force on vegan foods at FSSAI India. So the session today is going to be extremely power packed and you have a lot of great takeaways. So if you do have any questions during the session, please do make a note of it and drop it in the chat box. We will be taking that up post the presentation. So without further ado, over to Palak.
Hi, I'm Palak, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you today at India for Animals. India for Animals conference has personally added a lot of value to my life, and I have attended this event in the past. And I really recommend everybody to join and find out about the importance of different areas of effective advocacy. So today I will be talking to you all about how to create and how to transform activism, which is traditionally done by many means, but through digital advocacy. I think it's a very appropriate topic for the times that we're living in. We are housebound more often than not now. There is a lockdown, it could happen anytime. People are watching a lot of content, and at the same time, it's really scalable. So you don't have to physically be in 10 different places to reach 10 different people in different locations. So this is a huge opportunity which we have, and digital is very dynamic. So I'm going to share a basic playbook with you which can be replicated across categories. We need to be constantly updated with the latest innovations, trends, updates. So let me share some of my thoughts with you. I'm going to share 10 main points. The first one will be, to know your own style, know your unique personality. Now, everybody has their own way of activism. You see, I can't replicate, I have to somewhere be true to who I am. I'm not somebody who can necessarily just go and directly confront people, ask them about their food choices or their lifestyle choices. My style would be different. My style would be maybe to, give them information, to share testimonials and stories about people who have already made a transition, to talk about products or innovations, or to influence consumers in different way, potential consumers in different way. Whereas there could be somebody who is a poet, who is really good at poetry. They could reach out the masses through that. And then, there are so many wonderful people who are good at convincing other people, talking to them, who are good conversationalists, who can be good at public speaking. So essentially, what is your kind of activism, or what is your style? That has to come from you. And truly, it is only that authenticity which resonates with people in the long run. So my suggestion is always that the fundamental of digital activism or advocacy is to understand who you are and then see how you can position that best in the world outside. Here you can see the third slide. You need to understand also to a degree what are your strengths and your weaknesses. Are you a good writer? Are you a good filmmaker? Are you somebody who is good at research? Are you good at creating experiences? Say you are somebody who is, just good at writing. There are so many ways in which you could contribute. You could write to newspapers, you could start a blog, you could actually offer to create content in a different way altogether, wherein you could be more creative with what you are doing. And was it somebody who's good at visuals? So you could always find out what are your strengths and weaknesses. For instance, I'm a good video editor, but I'm not necessarily a good script writer. So I know that for me to create effective media, I will need help of one more person. Or I am good at going out there and talking to people, but I'm not good at maybe creating posters and, good creatives. So in the corporate world, you say hire your weaknesses, right? Here, I would say find a partner, find a strong support system or inspiration, a volunteer, anybody who can help you match your weaknesses. Find out your strengths first, and then understand who can help you in covering up for your weaknesses. I'm showcasing some examples of people who have created awareness today and who constantly are by many other means, but you will be able to see at the essence of it who they are, what they're passionate about, what is their life purpose, where do they resonate with, which part of activism do they resonate with the most. And these could be a variety of people with variety of inclinations. So we have a beauty blogger here with us who's talking about ethical beauty. We have an ethical vegan activist who's talking constantly about, why to go vegan, or topical content, current affairs, how veganism is relevant in those areas. Then we also have somebody who is very passionate about fitness, and through her lifestyle, by leveling up her own health and fitness through a vegan diet. She's talking about the products she's using, what is her routine, what is her diet like, busting myths around veganism, sharing animal stories. Then we also have a vegan pilot, so I know when she's constantly flying, hardly ever gets the time to go out there on the streets and do activism, but all she does is that goes to the cockpit, take a dabba, her vegan meal, takes a picture and shows what's possible. And I've seen her digital media, and it's full of a variety of vegan products. The essential message being that if you want to make it possible, you can. If I'm so busy in my own lifestyle, but I can still manage to go and get my vegan curd, so can you. So everybody has a different key message. Everybody has their own unique mission. And before you even, I think that is something which is very innate to an individual. There is something inside you which has provoked you to start speaking about animals. For me, it was one day I just saw this video and I couldn't go back from there, right? So the next 3 months, one night when I saw this video about a cow being, really tortured and the babies being brutally murdered, it was so painful. There was no going back from it. So health was not that important anymore. Sustainability was not. Everything else took a backseat. For me, it was, just animals. But at the same time, gradually, as my awareness grew and I started talking about the health benefits, because I started understanding it, I started making my language more holistic. And more than that, my mission personally was to create awareness at a larger scale for people who are fence sitters in India, who are transitioning vegans or who want to go vegan but don't know how to. And now it's becoming broader to directly talk to the non-vegans. So for that, we looked at different types of target audiences, and we will come to that soon. But I was confident about creating content. That was one thing I was confident about. That is something I thought, hey, I can do. At the same time, if you are somebody who's living in nature, who's confident about, creating content there through if you're somebody who's living in nature and confident about creating content, then I think you must also make that effort to understand where you want to be, who you want to influence, and how can you do it best with what you have. We all have unique talents and blessings. Some people are good at something, some people have good access to the place they live at. Some people live nearby good grocery stores. Some people live in a beautiful natural habitat. Some people have access to other fellow activists around them. Whatever is possible for you, find that out and start from there. As you see, we also have a food blogger. Now she figured out that I'm a vegan, but I'm also good at food photography. So I'm going to make the best of vegan cuisines and display it in the highest quality, which does not only influence change, but it also satisfies her at a personal level. This is where I was coming to next. Who is your target audience? This is so important to find out who your target audience is to be effective, especially digitally. Always remember to segment, target, and then position yourself. Segment your audience first. Understand who you are targeting. Are you targeting vegans? Are you targeting transitioning vegans? And understand there is no judgment. There are people who are good at serving delicious vegan food and they open a cafe only for vegans, but then there are people who are especially opening a cafe and targeting non-vegans, or they won't even use the word vegan in the menu as much. It depends. It's all your personal strategy, your personal call, but all of that, the clarity that you get how to move forward in what direction to create your own approach comes from defining your audience first. So first and fundamental thing is to understand which segment of audience you are targeting. Demographics and psychographics are equally important. You want to know, am I targeting India or am I targeting this particular state? Am I only restricting myself to Maharashtra first, making a focus here, or Tamil Nadu, for instance? Then you also want to know about what their behaviors are, what they like, what they dislike. There are all types of people, and we have animal lovers. We need to understand that different people have, a bit differently. We are billions of people on earth, right? So not everybody can be the same, and everybody is attracted to different things. Some people are more influenced by trends and celebrities. Some people are more influenced by health. Some people are more influenced by their food choices. So these will potentially be your entry points or your key drivers of each population that you could use to create your you could call it distribution model, campaign, or strategy, but you need to understand your user persona a bit. For instance, one person could be, all right, I'm creating this piece of content, or it could even be this video, or it could be something as simple as a written poster or a blog. And I want this to influence people who are millennials, who are maybe already vegetarian, who are in college right now, and they are living in one tier cities. So once you have identified who this piece of content is for, it will help you realistically target and also to realistically create that kind of action, to inspire that kind of action within that audience. And then, of course, how do you reach that audience is defined again by your target audience. You find out where these people are. Now, are they in WhatsApp groups? Are they in colleges? Is there a college group that I need to be a part of? Is there a social media community? Is there, are these people on Twitter, or are they on TikTok, or are they on YouTube? Find out where your audience is, define your audience, find out where they are, and distribute your content accordingly. Creating user personas thus becomes imperative. You have created a user persona of one millennial who is vegetarian. You can similarly create another user persona of a person who is maybe pre-diabetic, who is quite old. They don't have access to maybe Facebook, but they are very active on WhatsApp groups. Maybe they don't read well in English, but they are more comfortable with Hindi or other local languages. So first, when you understand and define who your target audience are, what could there be their likes, dislikes, preferences, and where would they be visible or available, that's then quite effective and easy for you to get there. Also, it's we'll come to this in the next slide, but the impact of your campaign or your outreach becomes measurable because you have found the right person and you have been able to create content especially for the right person and been able to reach there. Nano marketing today is possible. When I say nano marketing, gone are the days that we had only a few brands who were marketing to a wider audience, or a few NGOs who could afford ads on television and reach out to the masses. Right now, you see so many mission-driven organizations or individual activists who are capable of making this difference. And data is highly democratized now. So is the internet. There are very less entry barriers. It's very easy to scale without any major investment. All you need is sometimes even a mobile phone, right? So the amount of opportunity that there is a lot. At the same time, what is your differentiator is your content. Because there is so much opportunity, because there are too many people creating too many things, it also becomes very difficult to catch the eyes of the audience and make an impact. We'll come to that shortly. But nano marketing essentially is finding out those small target groups and being able to make a difference in those target groups. Finding out maybe, hey, these people would really benefit from from this awareness if I talk to them in their own context. That is also how you position yourself to reach your audience. I want to mention once more, it's so important to be true to who you are. At the moment, for instance, I won't be going out and giving everybody tips on exercising, I'm not somebody who is a fitness enthusiast. I don't have that kind of expertise. So for me to do that, I'd rather just take a content piece, or from someone, or a testimonial from somebody who's already practicing and excelling in their field of fitness and is a vegan. So understanding what kind of impact do you want to make and what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses becomes really important. I'm going to give you some examples of content which have been positioned towards different user personas, and these are some pieces that you can see we have used that vegan first, but to reach out to completely different set of target audiences. Of course, there could be some overlaps. Here you go. So the first one is a recipe video for food lovers in general, and this recipe video is we are basically talking about how to make easy vegan ghee at home. And this was again written by a really dear activist friend of ours, Namrata. And when she developed this recipe, we all tried it at home, and we were amazed by the results. It was very close to the real thing. And today you can see we presented it in the video formats. Tons of people around the world have tried it and then also found a lot of benefits to it. Now, if you can see just the look and feel of this piece of content, it is not in your face. Nowhere is it talking about, we're not really actually talking about animal rights here. We're giving solutions, and I will come to that in my next slide. We are working on the bottom of the funnel, people who already have an intent to go vegan and who want to find out how to do that and look for creative ways. So this video specifically is targeting for those kind of audiences, and plus food lovers in general who want to experiment with new things, who become aware that hey, alternatives are possible. Now another video you will see is directly, wait. All right, now this video is a video of a 7-year-old boy. He is a vegan and very outspoken, and also, really, I would say he was able to very clearly and thoughtfully present what he had in mind. So
my name is Vivan.
Okay, have you ever had milk?
Milk? Cow's milk. I hate cow milk. It's not good to have cow milk. There's one secret kept in the world about cow milk.
What is that?
Never ever take cow milk. Because if you take cow milk, the cows will cry, then they'll die. Never kill cows, because when I grew up, I'm never going to kill any animal. Now they understand that cow milk is not meant for humans. Just imagine if you were a cow and you had babies, and other people would take milk from you. How will you feel?
Okay, I will want to cry because my babies are not getting the milk.
So never ever take cow milk. If that happened to you, then you'll cry. If you did that to them, they will cry.
And you think it's important for us to respect their feelings?
You should never take stuff from anyone. Just talk to them politely, but never take stuff from animals. Never kill animals. Never do any bad stuff to animals.
this was the story of Vivan, a 7-year-old boy who in just 90 seconds was very effective in talking to you about his choices. Vivan's story is something which will appeal to anybody, which will appeal to vegans, non-vegans. It will, the target group for something like this is much broader. Now, this is an inspirational video we wanted to do, how our friends usually celebrate Eid.
We wish you a happy and cruelty-free Eid.
All these content pieces are reaching out different audiences at different stages during their journey. The recipe video is more about it's you see this, there is a funnel, right? So the recipe video is talking more about the funnel, which is conversion. Then another video where you're talking when the 7-year-old boy is talking is more towards the top of the funnel. This is a very typical marketing funnel, honestly, so I'm just using this more as a reference, but I found it very interesting when creating content for veganism, because there are different stages at any point in time. Essentially, you are selling somebody a lifestyle, and the basis is that this is a social justice movement. But you have to meet people where they are at in their journey. It becomes so much more easier and effective and measurable. So if you are creating awareness, if you're talking about the top of the funnel, which is so important today, then your content or your speech or your language is all designed to attract those kind of audiences. But if you're talking about just simply just engaging people, then you want to create only maybe events. If you're talking about converting people, then you want to give them solutions. So at each stage, it becomes very important to make sure that in terms of the content you're creating or the campaigns you're launching online, they are positioned rightly to the right audience, and you have clarity more than anyone else. There is no judgment here. You could add value at any point in any phase of the funnel, but you need to find out what you are really good at and where you feel you can make a difference. Another very intelligent way to approach this is to find out what are the gaps in the market already. That is something which is so important. For instance, if there is a lack of vernacular content today in veganism or in your advocacy, if you feel that there are not enough people who are talking about the subject in Gujarati or Hindi, then you could start creating content in that language. Or if you feel that one particular demographic is completely untouched, nobody is really, there's a big opportunity to create this awareness in Nagaland and Assam, but we don't have enough people in those areas and to make a difference, then you can always create content according to that target group. There's so many factors when you define your target group that come into play, right? So one could be cultural sensitivities, one could be the distribution medium. People, for instance, in Kashmir, they're not always so friendly on and they're very active on Facebook, but you have to find out where they are. They're not always so easily available. Apologies, I didn't mean friendly, but easily available, or they don't have that much access to the internet sometimes as we think that they do. So, or places which remotely have access to the internet, but maybe the demographic at that area itself is more how do I put this best, is more suited for WhatsApp groups more than Facebook groups or other places. So finding out the demographic becomes very important. Which stage of user intent can I add the most amount of value? What are the languages and communities that are underserved? And what kind of content can work? 90% of the users today in India prefer to consume content in their local languages. This was Google search, Google Ears search in 2020, which stated that 90% of the people, that's why you'll see a lot of mixed content. There is English, and honestly, you can always use subtitles. I read this one line, it was amazing. People are really big on Netflix shows and K-dramas and Korean and Spanish dramas now. Why? It's because they have, people are getting used to, once they're able to get over that one line subtitle, they're actually able to relate to the content. So it is so much possible that you can use the right subtitles and actually target both audiences. If your content is good, then there is big impact which you could make. Now coming to the next point, which is how to create effective content. We've all discussed that it's very important to differentiate your content. It's important to find out who your demographic should be, what your approach should be in terms of user targeting, and what kind of content will resonate with the authentic you. But how do we get to create that content? I think the first thing which I have noticed is that it's so important to listen. 99% of your answers are with the consumers, or with the readers, or with the people who are watching your videos. Find out who they are. What do they like? What do they dislike? What are the problems that they're facing? There are enough people who are talking today about issues that they face with sustainability. They just are not able to lead a sustainable life. There are people who love dogs, but they're still consuming chicken. That doesn't mean that innately they're not sensitive. It means they are sensitive. But what are the ways in which we can transform or open up their minds to talk about speciesism even more? So it's important to meet them where they are, listen to them. Who are these people? Talk their language. Try to create content which will resonate with them, which they will deeply identify with. Once you create content which is very relevant for them, once you know your audience, then of course, you measure impact. Now, all of this does not mean that you're not being authentically you. That is the first place where we start, of course. It does not mean that you're just blindly creating content without giving it a thought and finding out what the user wants. Of course, you can always have your own style into it. You can come up with new ideas. There's so many ways of creating awareness, but at the same time, it's very important to meet the person where they are as well. And then it's very important to measure the impact of that. How do you measure the impact of that? Once you create a content which will create the impact and you've distributed it in the right platforms, it's very easy for you to engage in the audience, engage with the audience and have a two-way conversation. Social media allows us that. When we use television and we use other forms of ATL distribution like radio, newspapers, it's sometimes very one way, especially in TV and print ads and newspapers. When we're distributing content with such methods, there is no two-way conversation. So you are creating awareness, you're putting a poster and you're reaching out to somebody, but they don't really know, they can't really talk to you and converse. But social media gives us that wonderful opportunity that even if I have posted a comment today, I can check it back tomorrow to see if somebody's replied to that or not. So it's so important to measure the impact of that and have a very real, genuine conversation with people if needed, but to understand if your strategy was working or not. All right. We also come to now the distribution model, which is where and how will you distribute your content, right? Now, understanding what social media platforms you want to use or what online platforms you want to use to distribute your content is equally important. Each platform has its own nuances. So if I am somebody who is trying to make a difference and I'm good at small one-liners and to spotting trends, I would prefer to use Twitter. But if I'm somebody who is visually oriented and I can make easy quick reels and talk about my journey or talk about even other aspects of veganism, but through maybe a visual format and with music, and I'm very friendly with my mobile and shooting, and maybe want to use reels, Instagram reels, YouTube short videos. If I'm somebody who does not mind being on camera and talking to a wider audience, and maybe or even creating informative long format videos, I would prefer to do a YouTube. But if I'm good at writing, I could, as I said earlier, I could write on my own blog, or I could actually write for other magazines or newspapers and contribute to them regularly. So there are so many ways in which, and so many different social media formats which we can use. Today, people on Facebook at Meta are talking about metaverse. So essentially, creators are thriving on NFTs. every social media platform is always updating themselves to stay relevant. Even Clubhouse, for instance, if you're good at having conversations and like that, you could go and use Clubhouse for creating this awareness. But every social media platform has its own algorithm, which is updated continuously. They have their own formats. So while I understand that your primary format might be, to create content through in one particular way, maybe you've made a poster, but I understand it's a one-time work to create that piece of content. Using that content to optimize it for different social media platforms makes such a big difference. It might not always be possible, or sometimes it might be, given the time, resources and energy that you put into it. If I have a video, and it's a video essentially which is horizontal and it is meant for YouTube, not for Instagram Reels, then I might need to convert that same video into a reel format before posting. So this is where comes the bigger question: what can we do? Where all should we post? It could drive you crazy, right? To post, you continue posting in just 10 different platforms all the time, refurbishing content. That is where you define your primary social media channels. And more than that, it's also important not to be only dependent on social media too much. You could always have your own mini website or your own mini blog or your own WhatsApp groups to distribute content. So each channel, if you have decided, hey, I'm going to be Instagram first, or I'm going to be LinkedIn first, I'm going to be YouTube first. So once you have your priorities very clear, at that time it becomes easier for you, and also sometimes it becomes easier to measure the impact of what you're creating from that particular channel. How to choose the channel is something which we already discussed. You find out where your users are and meet them. Understanding the algorithm for the channel, the frequency, the posts and the timings, the formats, equally important. Then ORM is something which is called as online reputation management. It is something which also is something which is a must and unignorable in today's world. If I'm putting out content and I'm not replying to people and I'm not answering to their queries, or if they have questions and I'm not answering to them, it's just a one-sided conversation. It gets very boring, right? So you want to be mindful of that also, to constantly be replying to people, and make a schedule. If you can't do it on a daily basis, keep a Saturday morning 1 hour. That's all I'm going to do. So if you can do it daily for 15 minutes, do that. So find out what works for you and do that. It's really important to also collaborate with the right people. It's very easy to collaborate with different kinds of people and create content which will make even a wider impact, and that will add a lot of value to your social media growth. Whenever you're using a third-party content, it's so important to give due credits. I don't think I need to say this to everybody. People are already aware of it, but it's always important to make sure that you give due credits, you tag people and the relevant people for that particular content piece if needed. And also if they have a privacy policy, if they have a copyright policy, make sure you go through that first. One more thing which we have not discussed till now are thumbnails and titles. It's so important to create the right kind of content, but it's very important to also package it beautifully. If your title is not sharp enough, classy enough, crisp enough, is not being able to talk about essentially the impact that you want to make through that particular content piece. It could be a video title or article title or poster title. But if you can't in very few words try to convey what the larger message, then people might not even open that or watch that video or read that. So it's like writing the best book ever but not focusing on the cover. So the thumbnails that you use you have a split seconds to catch attention. So thumbnails that you use, the titles that you use, they should be optimized according to SEO, but also be very visually appealing, be very catchy, and should be able to convey your message in a short amount of time. We've already gone through this. Listen to your audience and make a nice content calendar that will really help you in not be getting so anxious. So if you want to create a lot of content for a large number of people, you want to essentially on a daily basis, so you have to be able to make a calendar and get some discipline in it so that it can be sustainable in the long run. This slide talks more about the content strategy. Strong content ideas are good, but it's always good to dive deeper and to find out what types of ideas can I create that will stick with people, right? And can I talk about current affairs? Can I talk about what my target group needs? Can I talk about, if I'm targeting animal lovers, right? So I can make it more informative and more engaging. Sometimes I'm talking about the needs and wants of animals, but at the same time, I'm also talking about how to take care of animals. That widens your target group a lot. See, we need to understand that today, people will only follow you and consume your content if you're creating value for them. If you want more people to engage in your content and transform, give more value. It's as simple as that. So when you are coming up with content ideas, it's not only that you can create a piece of content once and maybe that's it, that's your big contribution. But if you want to make it very sustainable and develop a loyal following, then maybe you also want to give them some more information than just talking about activism. You can talk about something that they're interested in, which could be animals in general, and maybe other things that are the current laws that are there in the country. So this is just a use case I'm using. But if you want to create awareness through maybe other ways, then you want to again make your own theme, make your own calendar, find out what are the different types of topics that you can use so that there is some stickiness to the content. People are hooked and people want more from you and they understand more. And you want to obviously optimize all this for digital discovery. It has to show up on Google. You have to use SEO. You have to use your meta titles. And also have a certain amount of brand consistency. Find out which words to use, which words not to use, which doesn't go well with what your ethos and values are. What kind of fonts maybe and the colors and visuals that you want to stick to so that gives you a strong visual identity and a strong recall. And lastly, what is your content distribution strategy? For that, you can see I've just written one line itself, which is what is your target audience? If you have a target audience, it's very easy to make the content strategy. Create SMART goals. Make sure they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. We're at the end of the presentation. Now, this is a long journey. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and anybody who's decided to dedicate whatever time that they have to be it 1 hour in a day or 10 hours in a week or their entire life to creating more awareness about animal rights. It's one of the most beautiful services that we're doing for animals. And just remember your why. Avoid emotional burnout. Make sure you have some fun, you don't get too serious. And if something doesn't work out, if you're trying out a particular way and it doesn't, I think some amount of dispassion is important and needed so that you can quickly pivot and change your strategy. We started building our base in the beginning at Vegan First only on Facebook, and that's where our users are. We wanted to meet them there. And eventually Facebook changed the algorithm, and it became very unsustainable for us to only keep publishing there, and we instantly pivoted and started talking about other distribution channels. So it is important to keep having that perspective. There are things that work sometimes, there are things which absolutely fail, we've failed more than we've succeeded sometimes, but you need to keep finding out what that is. And again, focus on the larger vision, not necessarily always on the process. The process could evolve, and it could get you closer to your vision even more. Last but not the least, make sure you're not too serious, you have fun, and I wish you all the very best in your journey. I'm happy to take more questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Palak, for the wonderful presentation. It was literally a crash course in digital marketing, and I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways for everyone here. There are some questions that the guests have asked. The first one is digital activism can face a lot of criticism, especially trolling. How can one deal with it?
Hi. Well, when I say trolling, there are two types of trolling. I feel that feedback, it's good to get feedback, but there are always two types of feedback. One is, was constructive criticism, where there is a two-way conversation, and there would be another one where you would see people who are acting a little shady. They're not even revealing their identity. Their only aim is to just make you feel pathetic and go away, which is really not helping your morale anyway, and it's not even adding value to them or to you. So for that, it's a pure waste of time. So whenever you find a troll, understand, is this somebody who generally has a concern, where you feel that, hey, this person has, it's a very unbiased question, and they're asking about animal proteins maybe, and you can actually have a two-way constructive conversation? Or is it somebody who's just attacking you in general? And for that, those are people who are very weak. They themselves have done nothing in life, so just ignore and move on. And at the end of the day, it does not matter. You should just keep your head straight and keep going on. Ignore the trolls.
Great. So there's another question. This is, what are some of the free tools a beginner can use for digital marketing that are easily accessible?
There are
Like
lots of
Canva or
tools.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are lots of tools. It really depends, Sonal, on what the content strategy is, right? So if I'm somebody who's not using YouTube, then I don't need a particular tool. So depending on your tool, find out. I think Canva is very basic. It's very accessible for most of the graphics, but there are some softwares where you can edit, be it Motion Leap, or be it some other video editing tools, where you can edit within the software as well, right? So and it's very difficult for me to pinpoint on a particular tool, because these things change literally every few months, right? So what will be important is that you keep searching what is the latest app out there, what works for you, and more than anything, what is the content you're going to be making. So don't get so glamorized by the tools, because there's plenty full of tools, but which you can keep searching and you'll find out tons. But understand, do you even need a tool for something in particular? Sometimes it's just a waste of time to download a big video editor and realizing, hey, I could have done it on my MacBook. So depending on that.
Great. So we have one more question. This is how to cope with the challenges of the digital gap. So I think they mean maybe in terms of people who are not very, friendly with the digital space, or maybe the age gap also.
Right. I honestly don't think that there is a lot of digital gap there to the audiences that we are trying to reach out on digitally. There is enough untapped audience already who have access to digital, but they are not exposed. So once let's get there, and then maybe you could do physical events and integrations, etc. As the digital penetration in India becomes better. The other thing is that one very effective way to solve a challenge is that you just don't, whenever you're creating content right now, it depends on what your motive is. If you don't care so much about the IPs, you can just create a video, drop it on WhatsApp, let it circulate, instead of putting an Instagram link where the other person needs to sign up to be able to watch it, etc. So or if you want, you can just create a poster and just let it circulate. That poster, the same poster, could be circulated in different mediums. So it gets difficult when you are only restricting a particular person to a sign up or something like that. But otherwise, it's pretty, like, now I think a lot of people, if they don't have WhatsApp, they will at least have Facebook. If they don't have Facebook, they'll at least have something. So more people who are using that have it. The other methods would just be above the line activities like radio or physical events, etc.
True. I think, and everybody has a mobile phone now, so I think it's quite
Yeah.
easy to, I mean, any age group would have a mobile phone, so they can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so another question we have, how do small organizations and animal shelters already in the financial crunch invest in SEO, which is a kind of a long-term investment?
My honest suggestion to you would be, and we've had those limitations as well. When I say SEO, what I mean is that having a basic knowledge and just doing a basic course is enough. You don't really need to go out of the way to create blogs. But I'll just tell you a couple of practical tips. One is that just make sure that there are some digital courses available either on Udemy or other platforms for a very less amount of money, where you can just find out what should be the SEO keyword research and the weight and the keywords which show up. So one is that please, if you haven't yet, then get yourself familiarized with that. Secondly, try to use those keywords whenever you're putting out content. Say vegan butter in India, right? So, or uh, when it comes to SEO, try to also think from the user's mind, right? So what will a person who is normally a person who is looking for ice cream, right? What will he be searching for on Google? And then you want to probably create your keywords accordingly. Then the third thing would be just find out sites and blogs where the domain authority is a bit higher. So on Quora, it's a bit higher. Twitter, it does need, it picks up quite fast. Now, even if you post something on Instagram, usually it shows up on Google. So find out those sites and start publishing there. It could be as simple as, or medium.com, as simple as answering questions. At the end of the day, do only what you can do. And this activity is something you can also do periodically, right? So if I can just take out one day in a month and just focus on these, basic hygiene checks and then do it, you don't have to spend a bomb on SEO. Lastly, I think SEO is also two types. There's on page and there is off page. A lot of people, what they ignore, especially I know in India, developers, they ignore the technical SEO. We've made those mistakes too. So for that, you will need a developer's help. That automatically improves your Google ranking. And so technical SEO is somewhere where you might need to invest a little bit. But as far as keywords is concerned, or other SEOs with blogs and stuff, I think that's pretty manageable for most people.
Right. Thank you for that one. Yeah, there's another one, which is how can we know what's trending and how does one benefit from it?
Benefit from knowing what's trending?
Yeah, like what do you do? Probably like, maybe we repost it or share the similar content. So there's like, if there's a reel that's trending, maybe repost it or something like that.
It depends on your content strategy. There are a lot of things which sometimes are trending, but we don't resonate with it, so we don't take any action. But then there would be something as simple as for instance, now hypothetical situation only because no other example is coming to my mind. But Virat Kohli is not vegan anymore. But if he was, then you could just post about Virat Kohli in general, just at the same time, about Virat Kohli talking about vegan foods at the same time when he decided to, resign. So because that topic at the time is trending, or say there is a reel going on, Instagram reels, you can easily spot the trends. Just go on Google and just check out for latest latest trends for reels, and try to develop content in that particular format. I think that, I think research is very important when we're doing trending news. What I have noticed a lot of times is that people just, especially late bloomers, right, to IG and stuff like that, they just simply find one or two formats which is comfortable, and then they keep continuously posting in just that trend, in that song. What it does is that you don't ever reach out to a larger audience then, because it doesn't, the algorithm will not show you, and push your content forward in the first place. And another thing with trending is that you can always have your own take to it. So it's not necessary that something has happened, some news piece has happened, and you just have to blatantly agree with it. I'm not saying become activisty about the whole thing and start talking against it, but you can always, even if it is in support or not support, you can give your own opinion about it. So if something good has happened, just talk about it, that how you are in support of the same thing. So it just makes the audience more relatable to what your platform is or what your content is, because it's a very generic and broad topic, right? And then lastly, you can just use news websites and repost from there, right? That also helps. At Vegan First, we publish almost daily the important trending news. If you want to publish, as long as people repost, it's all good. So that's something also that people usually do.
Okay. So we're almost out of time, but we have one very important last question. How can we raise funds via the digital platforms?
Firstly, I think that if you are raising funds, I think you will have to be a registered charity, or at least do it via a legal entity. Most of the fundraising platforms that you'll notice, GoFundMe or other places, will require you to have some kind of credibility or certifications. Thirdly, while raising funds, it's so important to be very transparent and give have a digital presence. So if you're an individual and you're raising funds, make a website, give it credibility, right? If you're doing it through an NGO, and maybe you're not even running a campaign, there are two ways to do it. One could be you're just asking for help, and you're just talking about animals in general. You're saying, hey, I have like 5 adoptions to take place, I don't know how to get this. So one is that it's content marketing, but you're not really running a official campaign using a third party platform like GoFundMe, etc. So you're doing it casually. Even then, my honest suggestion is, please have a basic homepage or a website. And once you raise funds, always reply back to the audience and let them know how you've utilized those funds. So this is on a very personal front. Have a digital self for credibility, and then people can share it. And then you'll notice, even more people will share it and support your cause once you're raising funds online. The second way is obviously doing it through an official means, where you're, using GoFundMe or any other platform, for which there are so many ways for digital marketing. You can just simply make a video ad and run a YouTube campaign, and then ask people to just click the button and donate what they can.
Great. Thank you so much, Palak, for your time today. It was lovely having you and all the insights that you shared. And with this, we will just end the session. Over to Sanjana.
Thanks. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.